man, I just started the live and like everything's yeah. Oh my goodness. Sorry to everyone. Just as I started the camera tripod fell down. The timer that I set to remind me of this started going off. And whew, well, isn't that the story of life right now? Just everything not going the way that you expect. Anyway, I am Rebecca from Chemnitz, and I'm just realizing I should tuck that. There we go. I am Rebecca from Chemnitz, and I do have a Nitpicks order that would be fun to unbox and just chat. This order I placed on the last day that Nitpicks was accepting orders that they would ship out. And so, yeah, it arrived yesterday. Now, the Nitpicks website does say, as of this morning, says that they're going to resume shipping on April 6th. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I think their warehouse is in Ohio. I don't know what the status is of stay-at-home orders and things like that. So if it's going to be extended. But Nitpicks does have they are still accepting orders, and so they have a 15% off 15% off coupon on their website. I think it's Cuddle Up. There are some exclusions to it, so I would see the website for details, but there isn't really an end date that I can see for the coupon code. So I imagine it might end when they start shipping again, but I don't really know. Good morning, everyone. And full disclosure, I am a Nitpicks affiliate. I buy everything myself, but I do earn commission if you use my links. And so that disclosure is important. Yeah, so I'm in Massachusetts, so I know the stay-at-home order, schools and everything are canceled through May 4th here, for now. But yeah, so I'm not sure about other states. Oh yes, so I'm just wearing a skiing crown, which I'm going to take off in a second because it's a little bit tight. But shout out to Gigi Made It and More Thunder on Instagram for sharing this little crown. And so probably because I didn't use hair elastics, I used rubber bands at the other end to attach it to my head. It made it a little tight. But this yarn is actually leftovers. This is a Leave No Dye Behind from the March 2020 Chemnitz Dye Along live stream. I used up all the leftover dye, and there will be a video at some point with it. This isn't in the live stream recap. I think it'll be its own video because, yeah, filming is a lot harder right now. So my situation is interesting because I work from home on a regular basis, right? But my studio is now also my kids and my husband and everyone are here as well. So it just makes filming a little bit harder. And I had this really good idea this morning for a video, and I set it to start, and then I realized I was like, oh, I have at most 2.5 hours, and that's not enough time to achieve what I want to do with multiple steps. And so I'm just going to need to adapt the way that I think and film for the next, who knows. But yeah, so I'm going to start off with a nice hug and support to everyone, because I know that I know everything right now is hard for everyone, and everyone has their own challenges, but I know that it is especially hard for people who have lost their jobs or who are furloughed. So if you do have the privilege to be able to be working from home, just keep in mind that I guess we all need to see the things that we can be thankful for right now. And if for all of you working essential jobs, if you're watching the replay later, thank you. And the rest of us, let's just stay home so that way we can try to protect everyone else who has to work outside the home right now. But anyway, yeah, things, otherwise, we're okay. I'm just exhausted. And besides going for a hike, we haven't really left the house in about probably 3 weeks now. Yeah. so a little stir crazy, but I was excited when this package showed up. I also have a Wool to Die For package that I could unbox now, or I could save for later if we need some more just like fun later on. Let's see. So we've got oh, I love this. I think I've had this card before. So there's this little card in here, and I think that this sort of knit sweatshirt is just stunning. The cables, so it's like a raglan sleeve, and the cables here are just absolutely stunning. And so, yeah, and it says happy crafting on the back. And let's see. Okay, so the first thing I got was this. I wanted to get myself a little enamel pin. I kind of collect them. I have a lot of the ones that Nitpicks has made. I have a lot of like Disney World ones too, but I keep the knitting ones that I have separate. And I am unable to open this package. Yeah, so this is All You Knit Is Love. And yeah, so I'll stick it on the lanyard that I have up in my knitting room later. And so I placed this last order because in March, Bare Yarn was 20% off on Nitpicks, and then they also had a 15% off coupon. And so I grabbed another bag of Stroll, and I grabbed another bag of Swish DK, because these are two of the bases I use the most, and I thought that it would be useful to have more. I'm probably pretty well stocked right now. I don't know if I'm going to be placing another order soon, but yeah. And then I have a few single friends. Let's see what we got. Oh, I like totally forgot that I ordered this. I got another skein of Bare Lindy chain. I've had some more requests recently for different cellulose fibers for sponsored episodes of Dye Pot Weekly. And so Lindy chain is a chain plied yarn. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but it is linen and cotton. So it's 70% linen, 30% Pima cotton. It's a fun base. I think the chain ply maybe gives it a tiny bit more like bounce than a cellulose fiber might have. Just a little, maybe not, but it dyed nicely the couple times I've tried it so far. So I'll have that for the stash. What are you? Oh, I guess I was going for cotton. Huh. Okay, so I got two skeins. I think of this. Is this Comfy Worsted? No, this isn't Comfy. This is Color Mist Worsted. Does it have almost, is that dirt or is that? I think it's, I'm trying to tell if it's dirty or if it has like specks to it. Here, I'll show you. I mean, it kind of, I don't know if it'll show up. Kind of looks like it has little specks of dirt on it. I don't know if you guys can really see that. Yeah, so it's hard, like they're not, it might just be a little dirty. Yeah, I think that it's dirt versus something spun in, which is a bit odd because I don't see it on, I don't see these specs really on like the Lindy chain. The box was actually intact this time. But anyway, oh, so the Color Mist, which the Comfy line I think is also Pima, is also cotton and acrylic, maybe. But this is 75% Pima cotton, 25% acrylic. It is really soft. So this is the Color Mist, and I think the color is BO, color Bow. I mean, I think that this is like the bare version of that yarn. So I don't think I've dyed that one specifically. So I grabbed that, and I got to hanks of some Stroll roving, which I probably have some of, but this is the 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it is really soft. It really like, you know, is like ready to be spun, and it's sort of cobwebby. Like I find that like if I'm hand painting, it sort of like sticks to my hands a little bit, but I do enjoy dyeing the fiber, and I have not done this roving as much as I've done some other rovings, so I probably had some in my stash, but I was like, okay, let's make an order. And yeah, oh man, slightly off topic, but you ordered food colors and some bear yarn to try dyeing yourself. Thanks for inspiring you. Oh, I'm so glad. Just remember, if you're going to dye yarn with food coloring, you need a wool-based or protein-based yarn. Food coloring won't work on cotton or synthetics, which is, yeah, I try to keep up with Instagram DMs and stuff, and so sometimes I get people with questions, and then I feel bad because I film tutorials and there's some things that I no longer say in every video that I used to say in every video. And so like if I'm doing acid dyes or food coloring, I'm not always saying like the yarn needs to be wool. Like I'm using a wool yarn, but I'm not explicitly reminding everyone about that. And so I do have like some videos that like frequently asked questions, like what can you dye with food coloring and things like that. But what I don't have like a good, because I don't know, I've had some people ask for like a good starting point, and I'm not sure what the best starting point is for my videos for someone who wants to learn. I mean, the nice thing about the Dye Pot Weekly series is that it's in like a chronological order. So you can, if you go back to the beginning, then in that playlist, people can see like, oh, the first time I used like a RIT dye or acid dyes and things like that. But yeah, like I don't, and like some of the old videos I did are very like explicit with what you need to use. But yeah, I still need to figure out, I mean, there's stuff that I've created that isn't currently available that maybe will be in the future. And oh, Suzanne Fenton, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much. And Suzanne said, I just wanted to bless you. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And Kathleen, yeah, being on time. I know the feeling. Sometimes I feel like I'm not on time for my own live streams, and yeah. I would love, I wish I could do, like this morning, just some live yarn dyeing. Yeah, if people are just tuning in, I started saying at the beginning, like I had this project I wanted to dye, and then I realized I didn't really have enough time to like execute it, and then that was just made me feel kind of sad. And so instead I decided to pop on and do this unboxing and just chat, because Thursday mornings are like one of my times when I have like a block to like work and stuff, and I'll go film some conclusions in a moment, or like maybe not a moment, but when I'm done like chatting with you guys, I'll go film some conclusions. I'll set up the like lights and drop cloth, and yeah, I mean, I have still been able to dye stuff somewhat. It just feels like, yeah, it's hard, like, because if there's something I wanted to do in 3 steps, like a twisted skein video or like the resist one that I published recently, I was like, there's just too much time that I need to make sure I have in between each of those steps. Time for things to cool so I can do the next step. And it's just harder. So there's a question. What is the right order? Spin or dye first? That is a great question, and you'll find people that like to do it both ways. Personally, I prefer to dye the unspun fiber, because for me, I started spinning because I wanted to have another way to play with color. And at some point, there's a lot you can do with dye and yarn, but there's a limit to the kinds of colorways you can create. And then once you start spinning, then there's other kinds of like twists and blends and things that you can create. And you can absolutely do all kinds of things. Like, I think one thing I haven't done. Hold on. What, Lucas? I'm on a live stream. Okay, then flush. Anyway, wash your hands. Anyway, the one thing I have not done yet is dye the yarn, spin the yarn, and then over dye the result. So it would be really cool to dye some yarn, spin it, and then go and speckle it after it's been spun. I do get requests to do videos dyeing my hand spun yarn. Those tend to make me a little more nervous just because there's that extra prep time that goes into it. Oh no, I did not dye this myself. So what video is Fridays? I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, but so I think that it would be fun to dye some fiber, spin it, and then over dye would be another way that you could layer colors together. Just because when you're spinning, you can have colors blended in the actual like twist and in the plies in ways that you can't do that if you're just dyeing like the bare yarn. So I think that that is something that can be really, really fun. Just sort of off the top of my head. Oh, I'm glad Lucas made you smile and laugh. Oh, I'm glad that you made it. Yeah, working from home with everyone home is more work. Yes. Especially with the added childcare stuff. I mean, things are going pretty well. Like so Ryder has fairly consistent Zoom school, like 4 to 5 sessions a morning. And then Lucas in kindergarten has just like maybe one session once a week right now, but he has other things he can do at home. And Lucas is very, like, I'm not worried about him. He academically, I think that he's completely ready for first grade. He has an October birthday, so he's one of the oldest kids in his class, and he's a really, really strong reader right now. And he's very self-motivated. So like we have a math workbook because he asked for one and he likes to do it, and I have to stop him because I'm like, no, we're just gonna do 3 pages, and then you have to stop. We gotta save it, let it last. And so yeah, so that's fine. It's just a lot. Like, I think for me, between the choice of like multiple Zoom sessions in a day and then almost nothing, I think for me an ideal remote learning situation would be like 1 hour a day with some kind of just interaction with the teachers in some kind of way, and then the rest of the time like self-directed and stuff. And so for me, that is what I think would be ideal, but I'm not sure. I think our district next week is going to move into a more formal remote learning kind of thing, but we'll see. I mean, it's hard, and like the teachers have kids, and it's hard, and it's like, I am so thankful for all the teachers out there. But with the remote preschool, like it's with all the sessions, and each session's only about 15 minutes, but it's so hands-on because the kids can't set it up themselves and things like that like it's not possible to get any editing or anything done during that period of time. Whereas if he didn't have like those Zoom sessions, then they could just play and I could edit. So it's a hard balance, but yeah, I mean, I know that like, oh, yeah, it's hard, but the kids get something out of seeing their teachers, and like Lucas will join Ryder on the preschool sessions because they're his old teachers, and so like there's some positives in with that, but oh man. And yeah, so at least I know like my plan for today's morning session, besides like chatting, is that yeah, I mean, I'm filming conclusions, and then maybe I'll start some editing, and then on Saturday and Sunday are my other work days right now, because Keith usually doesn't have meetings scheduled for those days, so he can like be more on like the childcare side, and yeah, so I think I'll try to plan some dyeing sessions, but I think this weekend I think I'm gonna do probably a lot more food coloring videos. And I know I've been more heavily invested into acid dyes recently because I love them and I want to learn and improve, but the food coloring makes the prep on either end and the cleanup on like at the end a lot easier. So yeah, so one thing Lucas's kindergarten teachers did. So last week they sent home like some like weekly schedule with suggestions, and I kind of ignored. We've been doing our own thing. He's doing great. Like it's fine. This week they sent home these grids of I think 20 suggestions. So 3 pages, one for reading, writing, one for math, one for science, social studies, and social emotional learning. And then each day do 2 things from each of the grids, and it's been kind of fun, and in total maybe takes about 30 minutes to do, because so some of the things are pretty simple, like in your best handwriting write your name 3 times, kind of things like that. And it's nice, it's a nice prompt for me to work on things that like okay, these are the skills he should be building, kind of stuff. And so that's handy, and I've enjoyed that. But yeah, let me see, there were some you got 19 skeins in the box in the dining room that arrived 2 days ago. Yeah, we've been pretty good about letting things. So the Nitpicks order arrived like a couple days ago. After this, like I'll go like recycle the box and things like that. So you got your order just in time. A question for you: do I split my 400 yardage before you dye, or just the whole thing? That is an excellent question, Rachel. So the answer is both. These days, I tend to do my experiments on 100 grams of yarn. And that's because since this is now my job and I reinvest in more materials, I have a lot of yarn at my disposal. And I also now have the shop, so I can sell the yarn to help fund this whole cycle. But when I started, and if you go back to like the earliest ChemKnits videos, and watch my very first tutorials on like how to dye yarn with food coloring or how to dye yarn with Kool-Aid, I was probably using only like 3 grams of yarn. I would buy 1 skein of Nitpicks palette, and I would try to stretch it as far as I possibly could, because I just knew that I needed it to last. That's really the crux of it. I needed it to last, and I wanted to make sure that like I had the enough material for the videos. And I think at that time I wasn't getting AdSense. I'm not sure. I was working sort of like with another company, and they'd like license my videos back then, but I was still like trying to get materials to stretch far enough. So if you want to experiment with different techniques, breaking up the mini skein is a really great thing. And then sorry, I'm just thinking back. So I actually have a video coming up, maybe on Tuesday, maybe on Friday, I don't remember which. But I do take a skein, 100-gram skein of yarn, and I divide it up to test out a few different like techniques. And even in this Tuesday's video, I dyed a bunch of 20-gram mini skeins of yarn to then decide the color I wanted for the 100-gram skein. So there are many different ways that you can do that. I do have, in my FAQ videos, you didn't see how to prep yarn. If you don't have reusable ties, can you tie it up? Yes. So in general, like, oh wait, this is crowned. I was like, that's not helpful. Okay, so in general, like if I wanted to go dye this Lindy chain right now, I would open it up and check to see how many ties came on the skein. And so I think this feels like it has 3 ties, which is pretty good. I add reusable zip ties to most of my yarn these days because it helps me keep from tangling things. But if you don't have a reusable zip tie, if you have some like white ribbon or white acrylic yarn, like I have a skein of acrylic yarn that I use for ties, then you can do some really loose butterfly ties. And so you sort of go over under in the sections. So that way, well, actually you can see kind of here. Doing these butterfly ties keeps the ties from all moving through the yarn and ending up in one spot. I do have an old video, which I'll try to find and add to the FAQ section on how to make like, I'm trying to think. There's certainly some videos where I showed how I used to wind skeins on the back of a chair at the beginning of a video. But maybe I can do something like that. I'll have to look through and see. I think one of my goals is going to be to try to do, I filmed during a live stream B-roll to do a dyeing yarn 101 with food coloring. And one of my goals is to finally finish that up. I have some other things I need to do, but I really want to get that finished. And I'd like to do some other like intro type videos. Now, there is a project that I've been teasing, and so there's stuff that I'd like to do now that I'm not doing now because project with COVID, I'm sure that's delayed even further. So I don't know the timeline for that I started teasing last fall because originally it was supposed to happen in October. So things are things, right? But yeah, so there's stuff I haven't done because there's stuff that's coming that I can't share yet. So, and let's see. Okay. We've rarely seen you scour your wool, although I've read it helps color set brighter and brighter. What's your reasoning? You rarely see me scour my wool because I don't. That's not a real cough. Sorry, that was a fake cough and probably a bad time to do that. Yeah, I don't really scour my wool. You might see me like in some videos be like, wow, this isn't really absorbent. This isn't getting really wet. And even with some cotton videos, I'm like, wow, Dishy from Nitpicks is not like very absorbent. Probably would help to scour it first, to wash it with some soap and water. That might help it be more absorbent. And that's something that would be a good thing for me to start like exploring. I'm gonna grab a pen because I know my mind is so out there that I'm probably not going to remember anything. And scouring is something that I've been meaning to do. Just some ideas. I do have a list of ideas, and so in the comments, when you guys make a suggestion for a video, I have like a big spreadsheet with just ideas. And I do go and I add it to all of that. So you use peaches and cream cotton as your butterfly ties. It's cheap. I like dyeing peaches and cream, actually, as far as cotton goes. It takes up color really nicely, and it's pretty absorbent already. So I like dyeing with it. So I think scouring is, for example, if you have a like a skein of yarn from like a farm or a mill, there's probably a lot of lanolin left in it. So scouring the yarn is washing it to remove those oils so that way the dye can penetrate better. Because if there's too much oil there, that you can get more uneven color application. I personally don't really care about uneven color application very much. Sometimes I clearly do, but most of the time, like I like the that tonal variation in my yarn. So scouring, some dyers will swear that it is an essential step. And it's possible that it is for some consistency. It's just not something that I've ever done. Out of curiosity, I have not dyed milk protein yarn yet. I haven't gotten my hands on some. And I haven't found like a good source for it. So I haven't tried milk protein yarn or soy protein yarn. I mean, with soy protein yarn, I would be tempted because I don't know. I mean, I would probably, if I had one of those, I would test it in multiple different, like with multiple different dyes. My favorite dye techniques to use are definitely like acid dye type techniques. So that's your food coloring and your commercial acid dyes. The mechanism there is very similar. You use vinegar, wool, silk, alpaca yarn, and then you can get good results. And the good thing about food coloring as a gateway is that the techniques that you do with food coloring translate really well to acid dyes. There's a bit of a learning curve because food coloring colors break, there's fewer of them, and you need to have some extra safety precautions when you're moving towards commercial dyes, like having separate pots and pans and things like that. But ultimately, like if you have a proportion of vinegar that works well with food coloring, it's probably going to work pretty well with acid dyes. It's just, you know, for getting like the depths of color and things like that is where the learning curve is for me. So qualities are different. I mean, I think that you can make yarn out of anything that you can make a fiber out of. So for example, I have some pearl yarn that I have not yet knit with, but they took, I think, like rejected farm raised pearls and figured out a way to make a fiber out of it. And it is I think it's also wool in it in that, but it's just, they found a way to coat these fibers with it. And it's just this like, it's not iridescent, but it's a very like luminous looking yarn. But you know, we've seen from Paradise Fibers, we've seen like pineapple fiber come through, rose fiber, lots of different things. And the fibers, I think, from different plants have some different qualities in like the softness probably and sheen. And so it's just another like fun kind of fiber to play with. And I'm sure they all take up dye slightly differently. Some of them could be pretty similar, but there could be some different qualities in how they look. You made yarn with lint from your lint brush and knit a 1-inch square. That's so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, so most of my videos are definitely with, most of my videos are absolutely 100% with food coloring and acid dyes. And then I've used RIT, which is sort of I think it's like a union dye. Like it works on both wool and cotton. And I kind of like it, but there's a lot more washing sometimes if you use too much. And so I hate that. I've played with fiber reactive dyes a few times. I mean, I've used like Tulip one-step tie-dye kits. And I think using fiber reactive dyes on cotton is, I mean, you need to. I'm not a huge fan of using fiber reactive dyes with acid dye techniques and using it on wool. It's not my favorite. And yeah, I mean, the results are fine. I just prefer acid dyes, I think. But I'm also not as comfortable with using just like Dharma fiber reactive dyes. So I'm gonna hope to play with them more over the next few months. Yeah. Oh, my other plan is I'm gonna try to move my dye studio outside this spring. depending on how long things keep up, I'm going to move out to the driveway, and so we'll have a lot more Chemnitz field trip time. I have a hot plate. It takes forever to heat up, but if I'm working out in like the driveway, then I can like do more things while the kids are up. Your mom got you some pineapple fiber yarn for Christmas. Yeah, so hey, Indy? Oh, I think he's upstairs. We've been saving fur from my dog. The staple length is pretty short, so I definitely need to blend it with something to spin it, but the plan is to make something out of it at some point. Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, saving fur from a cat or a dog with the like brushings that you do from them, especially if they've just had a bath so it's clean, that's really the only time we save it. Is like, if I were to brush him now, he hasn't had a bath in a while, I probably wouldn't save that. But after he's just had a bath, that's the fiber that we save, because it's, you know, it's like we wash it and then we brush him, right? But it's similar to like if you have an Angora rabbit, like you brush them, that's how you get the fiber. You give them a good brushing. And so I think that there are just some similarities in there. But yeah, I mean, it's just like an itch. But I think that if the weather improves and I can move things outside some days, then that would help with the things that need to simmer longer or need more check-ins. And I don't know. I'm just feeling it's hard not having like it's funny because I work from home, but I'm not able to work in the same way that I did, even though I'm still in my office with all my stuff. So it's like a weird thing. So yes, being outside would definitely hamper things without a sink. So let's walk through like what goes into making a Chemnitz video. So on a normal school day, usually Lucas gets on the bus at like 8. Ryder and Keith usually leave a little before 8 to get him to school by 8. And then I have until depending on the day, between like 2 and 4 when I have to leave to go pick up. So then I'll get back from the bus stop by like 8:15. I'll start pre-soaking yarn and start setting up the kitchen to dye. And then usually on a filming day, I will film like through lunch until right up when I will film right up until like I have to leave to go pick the kids up. And then after I get home with them, I do a thorough cleaning and putting away. But a lot of times the yarn is still cooling, so I can't wash it yet. So most often the washing part of the videos is something that I either do first thing in the morning when I wake up the next day. So like before the kids come downstairs, or sometimes as they're coming downstairs, and I'm like, shh, just be quiet for like 5 minutes so I can like film this. And Indy came up, so that's what I'm doing now. Or I will wait until they're going to bed and I'll film the washing step then at night. So the lighting usually isn't as good when I'm doing these washing steps. But I will often break it up, and so I'll film the washing step of like 3 to 4 videos in one stretch. I mean, I do each one separately, but I do them like at once, and so then I'm like set up at the sink at that time. So if I'm dyeing yarn outside, yes, I'd have to bring either water from inside or get the hose set up and get that water from outside. But you know, I can have the pot out there going for like a period of time, and so that would allow me to do some things. Or maybe I would do more cool vat stuff and play around with that. But this would give me more timing flexibility, because if I needed to when the kids are at, like, the difference is right now, if I wanted to film, I'd have to get the kitchen put back together by like 1:45 to make lunch and stuff for the kids. So like if I'm doing a full day of filming and don't have good access to the kitchen before lunch, I'll have like leftovers or something prepped in the fridge, so that way I can like wash up and then take it into the like our kitchen table's in the dining room, so I can go in there and eat or something. So, but it's different with the kids because I can't be like, okay, don't touch anything in the kitchen right now. It is not a food kitchen right now. So that has like shifted the way it works. And then in between, usually I will film between 2 to like 4 videos in a day, because there are all those steps where like, okay, we're going to wait 20 minutes. And so I'll stagger things. And if you look closely, sometimes during a thing, you might hear something steaming in a pot, or you might see another pan on the stove because something else is happening around the same time. Or if I'm doing, say, like, I mean, I don't know if this was done on the same day, but if I'm doing like 3 twisted skeins, maybe I'll also have a low immersion thing going on, and maybe I'll have something else on the counter that I'm hand painting. And so I'll somehow stagger techniques and things so that I can be as efficient with that time as possible. Because I know that if I'm waiting 20 minutes, it's not really enough time to get in a good editing groove. Sometimes I can do a little bit, but yeah, so this helps. So let's see. Pet hairs tend to bloom a lot, I am sure. So let's see. But yeah, so yes, it would hamper me without a sink. This is one. Indy, off. Indy, hey, hey. Hey, Indy. Indy. You want to come be with Mama, or do you want to go to your crate and you come? Thank you. Lay down. Show me your belly. Thank you. I do not have a basement, so no basement sink to use. That would be ideal. Let's see. Does anyone have any experience solar dyeing wool and avocado pit dye and ammonia? No. Why do you want to use ammonia? So no, I haven't done that. I do want to do avocado again without as much heat. It's something I'd like to try, but yeah, so I don't have a basement. No, our washer dryer setup is in a closet, so we don't have like even a laundry room sink. We have a stacked unit in a closet upstairs. My house, yeah, we have no basement, and we've got like the furnace up in a finished attic. And so I can't, in theory, like the 3rd floor space, like it's a large enough space that could be great to convert into, say, a dye studio, except there's no sink up there, and having to run like up and down like that would be really, really, really hard. And so the same thing for like, we have a detached garage, and it's like, it's not insulated, so it would just be really hard to film in there. I mean, it's going to be hard to move some filming outside, but I think if I can do some of that and then not have to convert the kitchen back and forth, that might make it easier for me to do some things. I've not dyed with lac dyes. So conditions that are too, I will just say that conditions that are too basic can be bad for wool and can degrade the fibers. So I would keep an eye on the pH. I don't know at what point it starts to be bad, but I know for, say, indigo dyeing, there are different kinds of vats that you can set up. Some vats that are good for wool, some that aren't, because the conditions are way too harsh and it'll be really bad for the fiber. It's worth looking into that if you're going to be if you want to dye with wool. So so a lot of pigments are pH sensitive. And that can be really fun. But some pigments won't necessarily translate the colors to the color that you see on the yarn. Some of it can, and it might. But yeah, some things might not be so good. Yeah, I mean, it's worth just checking the length of time. But I know that, and I've also seen, so I think it was with red cabbage that because I was trying to dye cotton at different pH, and some of it when you went and rinsed, and so therefore the conditions were getting more neutral, so then the color shifted back a little bit. Some of it stayed. So, but it's always worth experimenting with, especially if you experiment with mini skeins. So I think I have a fair number of like dried avocado pits and skins saved up. Yeah. Oh man, I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to talk about like the setup. It's more of just like the realities are different, and I still have like I have some pre-filmed content. I've been able to make some new content slowly, and so I think that like I think I will be able to keep up my regular schedule through May for sure. And then I will reevaluate and I'll be communicating like what's going on and stuff. But I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. That is the crux of it. But yeah, like we're okay. And oh, I guess I also want to give a reminder that it's okay not to be okay. Like if as someone who like has had and has their own struggles with mental health, like when I'm like we're okay, like I'm a lot of times I'm not okay. And I've like especially like my anxiety is like probably really bad right now, but like it's even though I'm not always okay, it is okay. And so yeah, I guess wanted to add that too. So if like you're struggling, like again, another hug, like yeah. Use 5 chopped. You chop them into teeny pieces. Oh, cool. So you do use soda ash, but you're doing cotton. Yeah, okay. I haven't tried alkaline conditions with avocado on cotton yet. I'm not sure if the garage, like I don't want to leave wool in my garage for any extended period of time. I mean, when I say it's not well insulated, like it's not like yeah, it would require significant modifications to I like there's not yeah, it would require significant modifications to get like a sink to it, to get more lights, more electricity and things. It would not be an easy project. I think that like going forward, yeah, it would, yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Who knows now? Because there are things like, oh, it'd be cool to try to do X, Y, Z in the future. But to convert the garage would be a real significant undertaking. It's also a slab. The garage is actually the original 50 longer from the 40s, 70-year-old structure, but it has new siding on the outside. And so, yeah, it's probably needs like new structural assistance, and there's yeah. So the jacquard, and I have a jacquard indigo dye yet. I haven't used it yet. It came with soda ash. Oh, cool. Yeah. So I think craft wise, I have been even like I've done a tiny bit of knitting because I've been feeling pretty just anxious. I've been doing a lot of coloring. On Instagram, I shared, like I did a virtual painting class, which was really fun. A local studio that was hosting the class actually delivered like the canvas and an easel and brushes and paint to my front door, which was really cool. And so now I have like a bunch of stuff so I could do another class theoretically. I have some tiny canvases upstairs, so I could just get the virtual link and do another class at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's hard because we have a big local support system, and it's just hard because it feels like we live on the other side of the country again from everyone because it's so distant. So I'm honestly not sure. Soda ash is really cheap, but I'm not sure about like the ease of purchasing it right now. So I honestly don't know. I know that like you can usually find soda ash at like Michael's and stuff. Not that you can go to the store, but I think some of the big box craft stores have curbside pickup or they're doing delivery. But I know that like access to everything is hard. Anyway, okay. I think I'm gonna sign off and go film some conclusions. Hi, Peeves. Let me come. You want to say hi? Here's Indie Ponce. Uh-oh. Okay, so it looks like the space is about to be invaded by children anyway. So, you'll have a social distancing bonfire with your girlfriend and your dog. Oh, that sounds awesome. Oh, and collect the ash. Oh, cool. Cool, that sounds fun. Yes, he's a beautiful fur baby. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I just got a text that the stampede is coming. And then all right, I'll let you out too. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so I mean, Nitpicks has 15% off. The affiliate link is in the video description. But they claim they're gonna start shipping on the 6th, but I don't know like what the regulations are in their state and if things are actually gonna be extended. So it's hard to actually predict like if things will happen, and certainly I don't want it to be like on my word that it's gonna happen. But I appreciate you guys hanging out and chatting about. I've been really scattered and all over the place, but this did help me, and so I hope it helped you. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And there'll be a new episode of Dipot Weekly tomorrow. Oh, and I hope you enjoyed my April Fool's joke. That wasn't really a joke. That was just a brand new video. But in the pinned comment on the Leave No Die Behind I posted yesterday, I do have some of my past April Fool's pranks that I've done. So go check those out. Especially the cringiest one is how to make a yarn cake. I recommend go watching that if you want to roll your eyes at me or maybe even laugh. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Bye.